Absuani como all channel so aha AG Protects Albany. Podcast of the trendy make we make headlines. Unia ya jumre na iribi action. Nidi mni hambraximu. Beshok se yamo ingwa yama yu seminim na unia ejedema enya asem koto akra. Na Wontumi as bank loan no omo ekopie mu ewo court enra na court etimi agrant se the lawyers any attorney general enkushia na pre-deal negotiation na omudi kan bogo tiye no ye initial plea no omonko no omonko emu sakraye na omonko we se bibia betumi afa ntuma pa efra ewo kwa oyi ni free hon so a ye lawyer no di as bank loan enim ye lawyer and the Appiah kubi meno ka say ohoro ni sa efra asem no ho a omu adane asem no edi ama ye lawyer Akyea ono ene behwe na wayentutue edi ama ye chairman Wontumi the sanse mu si ya ene ye bawuramu ewo ye Pan African Television abra kwasipa junior nso ajemre na o chena bi efasa insemusi aha AG Protects Albany ni dim ambraxi mu eya na odom sa ahye eye subscribe button ase ede amami
Exim Bank. Share with us today. You appeared asked for time essentially to go and renegotiate as part of the plea bargaining. Share with us essentially what your prayer to the court was.
In the first instance, you are not kind to say that I'm a lucky man. You put more weight on my shoulders. But essentially, the judge agreed, and Honorable Deputy Attorney General Service House agreed that you attempt a plea bargain and then come back to the court and announce it. So we'll take up that initiative and see whether we can broker a deal, and that matter will come to an end. So that is what happened. But relating to the Edubuahin case, Cromwell, who was the last witness and investigator for the Attorney General, is still in the box. And today he made several concessions. I didn't understand the national security space. And I begin to wonder, I don't have to say it so many times, that how can you investigate the national security when they are matters are clandestine, when they do undercover operations, when they have even operatives functioning in banks? How can you come to terms with a space that you don't understand? And why should we use your ignorance to send somebody to jail? So this is where we are. Tomorrow is a good day for the judiciary, so it won't come. But Wednesday we'll continue with it and see how it pans out. But it's very, very unfortunate. He made several admissions. I didn't understand the national security arrangement.
Council, let me draw you back a little on, still on Wontumi. The party says it's taking over all of Wontumi's cases. Does that translate to the Tano Nimiri case as well? Will you be taking over as counsel for Wontumi in that matter as well?
Yes, indeed. And all the cases associated with Wontumi have taken over, and then we'll see how we prosecute them.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
This morning for the case of the Republic versus Chairman Wontumi in respect of the Exim Bank loan matter involving Wontumi farms. The party has since directed that cases involving Chairman Wontumi will be taken over by the party's legal team. And so, in respect of this matter, Mr. Samuel Akyea is leading it. And then I'm assisting him together with other lawyers of the party. We're in court this morning, and the AG brought to the court's attention that the initial plea bargain negotiations, which was commenced prior to the conviction in the other matter, couldn't continue or couldn't come to a conclusion because of the conviction and subsequently because of also the withdrawal of the lawyer in the matter. The court, taking cognizance of that, or also decided to indulge the parties to continue with the negotiations so that we could finalize it and notify the court. And so the matter has been adjourned to the 27th of August to enable parties go back to the negotiations table to finalize same and bring it to the court's attention. Thank you very much.
I think, look, to start with, we need to state what we're dealing with very clearly. We're dealing with illegal mining. And there is substantial evidence by medical practitioners, environmentalists, and so on, about the damage that illegal mining is doing to our society. I've seen medical reports which say that as a result of these activities, some children have been born in mining areas without eyes. They can never see. They will never see. They don't have eyes. Some children have been born without limbs. They have no arms, no legs. Some children are so deformed that they would never be able to function again. Never be able to function. The reports we are getting indicate that if you go to Obuasi, and Obuasi used to have the sweetest oranges in Ghana. Sweetest. In fact, if you cut the oranges open, the inside is yellowish. Very, very sweet. The reports we're getting is that if you go to Obuasi today, the food in Obuasi, cassava, cocoyam, plantain, and so on, has arsenic levels which are 10 times more than what the World Health Organization has approved. The food has become poisonous. If you eat it, you harm your body. We have come to a stage where water, we have found exceedingly difficult to treat water for consumption in our communities. The impurities in our water is so much that the cost of purifying water for consumption has jumped through the skies. Indeed, in some places, water treatment plants have had to be shut because you can't do anything about that water. The quality is so bad that you cannot treat it. Master, national infrastructure is collapsing before our eyes. And I've seen videos of bridges which have collapsed simply because galamseyers went under the bridges to dig, and the bridges have collapsed. Roads have become immotorable as a result of the operations of illegal miners. So the havoc we are dealing with is huge, is humongous. I mean, there's a community somewhere in the eastern region where the illegal miners actually dug under the community to the extent that a pregnant woman who was going to take her bath innocently, because the ground looks normal and so on, fell into a deep ditch and she died. Because underneath the structures, underneath the bathroom, underneath their bedrooms and so on, the illegal miners had dug huge holes and people are dying. You understand? Last year, cocoa production came down more than 50%. Cocoa production. So when all kinds of people were throwing punches at Randy Abe and so on, they forgot to mention that cocoa production had gone down by more than 50%, largely as a result of the operations of illegal miners. Cocoa trees are being cut. You understand? Cocoa trees are being deliberately cut in order to facilitate illegal mining. Yes, I agree with my brother Adakwa that illegal mining is not just carried out by small-scale persons. Sometimes even the multinational corporations are engaged in illegal mining. Our fish stock is getting depleted and so on. This is what we are talking about. We are talking about the survival of the nation state called Ghana. If nothing is done about Galamsey, this country would collapse. That is what we are talking about. Now, my second point is this. There are some people from the New Patriotic Party and so on who have come forward and said, look, Wontumi was not engaged in Galamsey. He was not doing illegal mining. Who can disagree with them? Who can disagree with them? If you look at the charges preferred against Wontumi, it did not say that Wontumi was engaged in illegal mining. It didn't say so. What it said was that a mining concession that he had acquired lawfully had been reassigned to a third party who was engaged in illegal mining. That's the charge. So, to criticize the judgment on the assumption that he was not engaged in illegal mining is neither here nor there. Nobody charged him for personally engaging in illegal mining. That has to be understood. Now, the person to whom he gave permission to enter his concession gave evidence before the court. He says, yes, I got the concession. I was doing illegal mining, and I was doing it in order to generate resources to pay myself. Wontumi had given me some job to do, and he didn't pay me. And he said that I should do this kind of mining to generate resources to pay myself. You understand? So that's also very, very clear. So it is not true that Wontumi did not personally benefit from the illegal mining. You understand what I'm saying? Because he was supposed to pay the contractor he had hired to do reclamation on the land. The money he's supposed to have paid that contractor for doing reclamation, he kept for himself, according to the evidence before the judge, before the High Court. Clear? You understand? Then, one of the arguments is that, well, he is a political prisoner. And by Jove, I heard a leading member of the New Patriotic Party explain why Wontumi is a political prisoner. And I almost collapsed. Leading member, a very respectable member of the New Patriotic Party. And this is the argument he put out. He said, Wontumi is the regional chairman of the New Patriotic Party in the party's stronghold. And therefore, his trial is political.
He's a political prisoner.
Hey, Master, where is this coming from? I thought that the dictum of the law is that the law is no respecter of persons. Now, we are saying that if you become regional chairman of a party in the party's stronghold, you are above the law. Nobody can touch you. If they touch you, no, you are a political prisoner. Hey, yo. Master, I mean, when I heard this argument, I said, my goodness, where is this argument coming from? Then I had another argument, very interesting. And the argument simply said that, look, the prosecutor in the case was the Attorney General. That the Attorney General is actually a member of President Mahama's cabinet and a member of the National Democratic Congress. And therefore, if the Attorney General prosecutes a case, it is a political case.
Yeah. Yes.
I said, let's do some extensions here. So when the Attorney General prosecuted Akyea, it became a political case. So when the Attorney General prosecutes anybody, it's a political case. It simply means that the Attorney General, nobody can be prosecuted in Ghana. Because if you read the 1992 Constitution, and today I brought the Constitution to the studio. I think it's the first time I'm doing so.
That, yes.
But I brought the Constitution to the studio. Article 88 of the 1992 Constitution says, is headed the Attorney General. And it says, Article 1, there shall be an Attorney General of Ghana who shall be a Minister of State and the principal legal advisor to government. 2, the Attorney General shall discharge such other duties of a legal nature as may be referred or assigned to him by the President or imposed on him by this Constitution or any other law. 3, the Attorney General shall be responsible for the initiation and conduct of all prosecutions of criminal offences. The rest of the provisions don't matter. So, the argument which is actually being made by some of the people in the NPP is that all convictions are political. All the armed robbers in prison, they are political prisoners. Hey, unbelievable. But they are making this argument. Okay? Then they go on to make other interesting arguments. And one of the arguments they make, which I understand is going to become the basis of the case they are taking to the Court of Appeal, is that lawyers of Chairman Wontumi at a certain point in the trial asked that some law should be referred to the Supreme Court for interpretation, and the court did not allow it. Let me say again that I'm not a lawyer, but I read a bit, you understand, and I've read judgments of the Supreme Court. I've read Lord Denning and others. And indeed, they insist that the true position of the law is that a judge at a lower court may only make reference to the Supreme Court for interpretation if the judge himself or herself thinks that there is need for interpretation.
We in some who team course watching on us, Mamma was so Jim Breda, Senator Padiano, the Atumbia Dominia, Yabishia, na ya smoke my strong so.